Hello, welcome to another live. Here we are every Monday, and here I have the space for you to ask questions if there are any questions about mind, emotions, NLP, creating change, all of that good stuff. And today I want to bring in some of the creativity. So last week we were talking about NLP, and this week we're talking about creativity. And I want to share a simple two-step practice that we can use to really bring a sense of calm and well-being. And this is something I will talk about in much more depth at one of the events that's coming up on the 2nd of December. Though today I'll give you a little sneak peek and a simple practice that you can do really easily. You don't need any fancy materials, just even like a pencil and paper, or a pen and paper you can use. Though if you do have some coloured crayons, if you do have some coloured pens or pencils, then that's useful too. So why do I focus so much on calm? Why do I focus so much on coming back to this soothing tenderness, this soothing, calming tenderness that we can bring to ourselves? And this is because so many people are experiencing this sense of overwhelm and this sense of anxiety about what's happening in the world, like all these different things that we're experiencing. And even if we're not directly impacted, we are impacted on some level, because we're all one collective, we're all one whole, one humanity. So of course, when other people are suffering, when there are things going on in the world that are horrific and I can't even imagine what it must be like for those people, then it does affect everyone. And it can be something that can be really, really challenging. And one of the most important things that we can do in order to be a great support for those who are really in critical situations, that we look after ourselves and we look after our nervous system and we look after our emotional well-being, so we can show up in a much better way and from a much better place to be able to support them, support those who are in need. So this is something that I focus on because I have a lot of experience with anxiety. I have a lot of experience with panic attacks. I have a lot of experience with that sense of overwhelm and feeling like, oh, there's too many things, and feeling that distress about, oh, like being like connected to so many things. Like there's so many, like overwhelm on an external level and overwhelm on an internal level. Like there's so many sensations and sounds and noises and information and everything that's bombarding us all the time. And then also internally we can have that sense of overwhelm when there's a lot of worries and thoughts and doubts and fears and stories, all these things that the mind loves to focus on. And when we're focused on that and we're up here with all of that, then it can create this state of fight or flight or freeze, like all these different coping mechanisms that we've learned and how to deal with that. Like when we're in a state of feeling traumatized, or we're in a state of dealing with big emotions, or we're in a state of just trying to survive and get through life with all the information that's out there and all the things that are happening in the world. So there are many things that can help. And those of you who have listened to the podcast, you can find it on this channel, that there are quite a few episodes talking about emotions, talking about anxiety. Once this live is finished, I will link those specific episodes in the description, and that you can click on those if they are of interest, if you haven't listened to them already. And it's something that, yeah, I have a lot of experience with personally and also professionally. So I've been working in this field for 11 years, supporting people with anxiety. And also I started this whole journey because I went through weekly panic attacks as well myself. And I know what it feels like when there's that state of complete terror and panic and overwhelm and anxiety on such a heightened level. It's not fun. And there are simple ways that we can reduce that we can transform our relationship with anxiety. That is not a problem, to get rid of, even though it feels like that. And hearing me say that might be triggering for some people. The very core of it, it's simply our body or our inner child wanting our attention and wanting to communicate something. So it's a messenger. Anxiety is a messenger. And when we can start seeing it like that, then we can start rewriting the story. We can start transforming our relationship with it, start transforming our experience of it. No longer becomes this big thing that we have to try and control. It's this thing that we can learn from and move through. And the more we ease that grip on trying to control something, then all of those anxious feelings start to melt away. I can feel this. I remember years ago when I was in a big workshop, I was in a big space where there was a lot of people and I was feeling really overwhelmed, and I could feel that starting to bubble up, and this would usually be the beginning signs of a panic attack coming. And for the first time, because usually I would try to contain that and I would try to manage that, I would try to, okay, breathe and do this and do that, and trying not to, like, I mustn't faint, because that was the fear that was often coming up for me. And well, I would use food or drink to try and calm those feelings down. And I remember in that workshop, this was years ago, I remember in that workshop just having this thought of, okay, if I faint, what's the worst that will happen? Like, there are people around, people will help me. Like, I'm not in the middle of nowhere with no one around. Like, there will be support. And just really like going into that, because sometimes the mind like creates an even bigger story of what if and what will happen, and the future, worries about the future or the past, but often there's the big focus on the future, like what will happen or what might happen or what could happen. And in that moment I was like, okay, what if? I surrender. And whatever needs to happen will happen. And even like just in that moment, I remember feeling this big whoosh of just like releasing something, and there was no panic attack. There was no panic attack. There was still a little bit of nerves and anxiety, and I could then connect with the breathing afterwards to calm my system down. But that was a big insight, because then I was like, okay, the more I'm trying to control something, the more I'm trying to contain something, the bigger it becomes in terms of the energy and the pressure. So it's all about, okay, release, like have your point of focus, the breath, slow the breath down, and just surrender. So of course, there's many other things that I can share on anxiety, but you can check out the podcast episodes for that. Today, I want to share a creative process. So this is a 2-step process. Whenever you're feeling a bit agitated, there's a lot of worries and thoughts and doubts, this process can help soothe and can help calm the system down. So then you're in a much more resourceful place to then make certain choices and actions and seek help and support that can help you further. If there's something that you need to talk about with a friend or a loved one or a professional, then you can do so. But in the moments where you're at home, or you're at like in a place where you have a pen and paper with you, then this can be a really simple way to calm the system and to really soothe yourself, and to do so in a fun, creative way. So if you do have colours, grab some colours, some crayons. I've got a piece of paper here. So grab a piece of paper, and there's a 2-step process. So the first step is, if you're feeling that anxiety, if you're feeling that anxiousness, that agitation, that overwhelm, like whatever's bubbling up there, notice what it feels like. Notice where it is in the body. And notice, like, if you were to assign a color to that, like, what color would it be? What color would would be the representation of this feeling? Like, what color would it be? There's no right or wrong with this. And if you did this tomorrow, maybe the answer will be different. Or if you did this later on, maybe the answer will be different. Like right now, like what color comes to mind when you think of this and you connect with this feeling? So pick that color if you have that color. If you don't, just any normal pen or pencil will be fine. But it adds an extra element. Like when we start using color, color is very therapeutic. So I'm going to pick red for this one today. So that stress, I was feeling a little bit stressful earlier, so that's what I'm going to use. And so this red, and the first step is simply on your piece of paper with that color is just to scribble it out. As simple as this might sound and look, and might think the logical mind, the adult logical mind might be like, oh, this is, a child could do this, like this is something really simple. There's a point to this, because when we're doing this, especially if we're using color and we're just scribbling it onto the page whilst connecting to the breath, it's like we're releasing everything out. Any frustrations, any overwhelm, just getting it out onto paper. And just keep doing that, filling the piece of paper as much as you need to. So that's the first step, because like what we're doing essentially is we're just letting it out. And even better, if you want to, you can close your eyes as well if you want, if you're aware of the border of the paper. Close your eyes and do that with your eyes closed whilst continuing that inhale and exhale. And you're imagining that all of that feeling that's within the body is going all the way down your arm, through the crayon, onto the paper. And you're releasing that. Releasing that. Like that. So that's the first step. And that can feel incredibly simple, yet incredibly releasing and cathartic, just to let go of the stress. I mean, how often do we just let ourselves do things like this? Like as kids, we're allowed to often, if we have that space to do so, just to be creative and just to make a bit of a mess and put colors where we want on the page. We don't have to color in perfectly, do it properly or perfectly. And as we grow up and as we become adults, we tend to bring everything in and contain, and then we're going through our day-to-day life, and there may be moments where we feel stressed, we feel agitated, we feel overwhelmed, we feel all these things coming up, and we just hold on to it and we don't do anything with it, and it just builds, and then it stores as tension within the body. So it's like, find creative outlets, find little ways where you can release that. This is one way that we're working with color, and we're working with creativity. Some people love to run, some people love to sing, some people love to dance. I'm one of those. There are many different ways. This is one way. So when you have that, you can do what you want with it. So once you've done that, a great thing to do is just screw it all up, throw it away, release. Now for the next step. So it's important to first release, and then we can soothe. So express and then soothe. There's no point, I mean, you can go to the soothing, but if we haven't fully expressed or released what's underneath that, then it might take a bit longer. And also with that original energy, that agitation or that overwhelm or stress or anxiety, like we haven't really fully allowed it to move through us. So it's really important to release, to let that go. And then the next step, get another piece of paper, and then this time find a color that for you promotes a sense of calm. Like when you look at that color, again, if you've only got pen or pencil, that's fine, you can use that. But adding the color brings an extra element, healing element to it. So a color that for you represents calm. It's like, oh yeah, that feels soothing, that feels calming. So pick that color. I'm going to, and again, every day might be different, every moment might be different. Today I'm going to go with blue. And what I'd love you to do is, like, as you're connecting to the inhale and as you're connecting to the exhale, so that conscious in-breath and that conscious out-breath, that you're drawing a circle that is expanding and then going in within again, expanding and then going in within again. So whatever works for you, perhaps the center point here is when you're exhaling, and then when you inhale, then you go back to the center as you exhale again. So inhale, going out, then going back to the center. So this is like a meditation practice. They're using creative arts and using color. So that inhale, you might have seen this on meditation apps, that they have like an image, that a circle or an image that expands and then goes in within, expands, goes in within as you inhale and exhale. So we can do this ourselves. So as we're looking at the paper, as we're breathing, so we're going outwards and going inwards, outwards and inwards. And this is a wonderful soothing practice, just to take a moment, just to breathe, just to come back to the breath, just to breathe, come back to the breath. So you'll end up with something that looks similar to that. And you can do that for as long as feels good for you. And that piece of paper you can keep hold of, you can put up somewhere, or you can throw it away, whatever feels good for you. So that's the two-step process. It's just a really simple way just to connect to, okay, like what feelings are going on within, release that onto paper, and then come back to the breath. That inhale, that exhale, and have that visual representation of the inhale and then the exhale. The inhale and then the exhale. And keeping that as slow and as steady as you can. Inhale, exhale, inhale, exhale. So I'd love to hear your shares. Like after you've tried that out, like what do you notice? Like what comes up for you? Do you find that useful? And this is something that can be really wonderful to practice with children as well. So if your child, I work with a lot of mothers, so there may be some mothers watching. If your child is feeling this or you're feeling this and you want to do an activity with your child, you can bring this in, and you can do this together. And it's a wonderful practice to bring some mindfulness, to bring some release and some soothing whenever our system is feeling overworked, overwhelmed, stressed, anxious, and we just want to come back to a sense of calm and ease, and just feeling a little bit more easeful about things, and feeling that, okay, yeah, from here I've got this, from here, like, it's going to be okay. And often when we've just had a chance to connect with the breath, connect with the body, release any stress or emotions that might be there, we're able to see situations in a very different way, because then we're not so caught up in the stories and we're back connected to the body and the breath. And from that point and from that place, we can see things a lot differently. Also, with the added benefit of having more oxygen, because we're breathing more deeply. So having more oxygen, then we're able to think more clearly and realize that perhaps the situation is not as bad as we might have previously thought. So I'd love to hear your shares on this and try this out. And if you want more simple, effective tools like this, then on the 2nd of December, I have a wonderful workshop, and this is going to be a very experiential process, like a very is not just a workshop, it's an experience. It's an embodied experience, and there'll be 3 hours where we go through all these different creative processes. We're going to blend a mix of creative arts, movement, NLP, and numerology together, so you can really get clear on what helps you and really what is your key, your personal key to connecting to that sense of calm. So you'll learn like simple tools and techniques like this and many more. But then also we will really talk about each person as an individual and really uncover your personal blueprint. Like what's your blueprint? Like what are the keys that help you personally according to your unconscious filters and according to your numerology numbers? And this is something really interesting. So those of you who are a little bit skeptical or not really sure, like, oh, numerology, what's that all about? You might have heard of Pythagoras when you're at school, and him and his students developed like the understanding of that everything is like in terms of numbers, like every number has a vibration. Everything in the whole universe vibrates at a particular level. Like we know this from science. This is not something that's spiritual woo-woo out there stuff. No, we know this from science that everything vibrates at different speeds and levels, that whether that's something that's a liquid or a solid or a gas, we know that. Though that also includes the words that we speak, that includes numbers as well. And each number has a significant meaning and healing properties as well. So according to our date of birth, we can identify, okay, like what number, what vibration did we come in with? And it's so fascinating. Like when we mix this with what we know logically, so that the numerology is helping us to understand what's there at a deep core level, at a soul level. And then we can also look at the conscious mind and the unconscious mind and what we know logically as well, and according to our personality, our values, and all of that. Combining all of that, we can create this really wonderful expanded view of who we are, why we do what we do, and what helps us to connect with calm, what helps us personally to connect with calm. So I'll be sharing a lot more on that workshop, like you're really discovering your core essence and how this knowledge can help you in terms of moving through life with a little more calm and ease. Doesn't mean that you'll never ever feel stress ever again because you're human just like anyone else. Though in this workshop I'm very keen to give as many practical tools as possible and for it to be an experiential process. So there'll be activities, there'll be group discussions, there'll be different things that we do, and it'll be a very embodied experience. So it's not just a couple of hours workshop, is an embodied experience that you can go through, and that with that lived experience and that integration and the practical tools that you'll learn, you can take that forward with you into life and notice the benefits and the changes that come from that. So if you want more information, the link will be in the description of this video, and you can always send me a message at +34 6226 98673. So on WhatsApp, that's probably one of the quickest ways to get hold of me, is to send me a message there and I can respond if there are any questions. And it'll be so lovely to see you there. And this will be in person. This will be in person in Villanova i Geltrú, which is a short train ride from Barcelona. And yeah, it'll just be a really wonderful experience to really dive into like what makes you you, and how you can really connect with calm in a fun creative way. There'll be some creative arts, some movement, no experience needed to attend this. It's open to everyone for all levels. And Yeah, so I'll pop the link in the description. So it'll be lovely to have you there. And if you're interested in other events coming up in December, the Women's Circle at Artemis will be on Tuesday, the 12th. So usually it's the third Thursday of every month, but in December we've moved it forward a little bit because of Christmas and lots of people traveling. So on Tuesday, the 12th of December, that will be the December edition of the Women's Circle. And it's a super, super important topic all about body. So our relationship with our body. So we'll be talking about body image. We'll be talking about changes like as we grow older, as we go through pregnancy, birth, like if people have experienced that, like thoughts and criticism, like self-criticism about our body, like when we're in relation with other people, when we see other women or other bodies, like all the whole topic about body is such an important topic for women. So that will be the December edition of the Women's Circle, and that will be on the 12th. Again, the link will be in the description. And then also on the 1st of December, there's a dance session as well. So every 2 weeks I hold a dance session in Villanova Geltrú, and it's an open space to dance, to release stress, to really come back to the body and the breath, and to have that space to release anything from the week that might be there, and just to really celebrate life. So plenty of things coming up. And if you're not in the area, one-on-one sessions continue. There's the podcast, there are these lives, many things happening. So thank you so much for being here. Thank you for watching, and I'll be back next week with another class. Much love to you.